Okay, I've been asked for a tutorial on how to make a hair bandana a few times, and this one is so simple and so cute. Start with your basic magic circle. I like to pinch the magic circle while I work so it stays in place, and then chain 3. Follow that up with 2 double crochets into the magic circle, and then chain 2. Now make 3 double crochet also into the magic circle, and once you're done, pull your yarn tail to close it up. You should have the world's tiniest triangle. Chain 3 to start the next row, and normally using a magic circle you would work in the round, but not this time. Turn your work and place 2 double crochet right into the first stitch of your row, right there. And it really does help to hold your project between your thumb and middle finger to give it some stability. Now you'll skip the other 2 double crochet that make up that first double crochet cluster from row 1, and you're going to double crochet straight into the chain 2 space that you made in row 1. All in that chain space, place 3 double crochet and then chain 2 and place 3 more double crochet without moving on to the next stitch. And there you've made the top point of your bandana. Now along the other side, you are once again going to skip 2 of those double crochets and work a double crochet 3 cluster into the last stitch of the row. A 3 double crochet cluster is, just like it sounds, 3 double crochets put into the same stitch on the previous row. This one and the first double crochet cluster you did mark the other 2 points of your triangle. Now chain 3 as you did before, turn your work and work 2 additional double crochets into that first stitch, just like in row 2. Here, your chain 3 actually counts as a stitch, which is why this ends up working as a 3 double crochet cluster. Now in any granny stitch project, you're going to skip these clusters when you work on the next row. Instead, making your new cluster right in between the 2 clusters from the row previous, underneath the stitches. So right here, I'm going to add a 3 granny crochet cluster and then move on to the chain 2 space at the top of my project. In that chain 2 space, I'm again going to place 1 3 double crochet cluster, chain 2, and then another 3 double crochet cluster. This is an increase, and by adding increases only at certain points in your project, you create points there or corners. So we have 3 increase spots at each point of this granny triangle, and we do 4 corners on a granny square. If instead you randomize your increases and do them at different spots throughout your project, you'll create a circle. Honestly, crochet is kind of like math. We're always following the same basic rules. Now we're ready for the other side of our triangle, and we'll place another 3 double crochet cluster into the space between the 2 clusters from the row before, and then a second double crochet cluster into that last stitch of the row, which is again an increase. This is the basic pattern for the whole triangle that you're going to make. Chaining 3, placing 2 double crochets in the first stitch, then placing 3 double crochet clusters in each of the spaces between clusters from the row before along the sides, and 1 3 double crochet cluster, chain 2, and another 3 double crochet cluster at that top corner space. Continue on in that pattern, your triangle getting larger row by row until it reaches at least 8.5 inches from the tip to the center of the bottom and 16 inches across. And now it's time to start making your border and your straps. Your straps are pretty easy. Attach your yarn to one of the 2 bottom corners and then chain at least 18 inches because you want your straps to be nice and long, and they end up shrinking a bit with this next step, and that is to slip stitch back down the chain towards your triangle. And once you're all finished, each strap should measure 14 inches at the very minimum. If your strap looks a little lumpy like mine when you're done, all you have to do is tug on it and it'll even right out. Now using the same color, single crochet evenly along the bottom side of your triangle. In each side of a double crochet or chain 3, place 2 single crochets so that they're not too far apart, but they're also not going to bunch up too close together. And if your cat suddenly decides that this is her workspace now, just roll with it. There's not really anything you can do. Once you get to the opposite corner, it's time to make your second strap, following the exact same steps you did with your first strap. Chain 18 inches, then slip stitch back down the chain to the base. And now it's time to make some pretty edging. We're going to do a shell stitch edge, so I'll walk you through that right now. Single crochet once in the corner at the base of your strap, and then skip the next 2 stitches. In the third stitch, double crochet 5. That's right, a 5 double crochet cluster. This might seem excessive, but with the skipped stitches, stitches, it kind of fans out, creating a little shell for a scalloped effect. Once again, skip the next 2 stitches and single crochet in that 3rd stitch from your hook. Repeat this entire process, skipping 2 stitches, 5 double crocheting in the next stitch, skipping 2 stitches, single crocheting in the next stitch until you reach the top of your triangle. You want to make sure that one of those 5 double crochet clusters is in that top chain 2 space. So if you need to skip an extra stitch or double up a little, that's okay. It looks much nicer if one of the scallops rolls across the top of that corner. Then continue on down the second side in the same fashion you did the first one until you meet the beginning of your round where you created your first strap. Slip stitch to your strap's first chain, and then it's time to tie off your yarn, because that's right, you're freaking finished. I mean, you do have to weave in your ends if you want. I don't make the rules, I just work here. And now you've completed a really basic hair bandana that looks way more complicated and lacy than it actually is. Happy crocheting!